Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you all for joining us tonight for our Welcome to Architecture, our live session today. My name is Fiona, and I'm a lecturer at the School of Architecture, and I will be coordinating your first year studio and your first year drawing class. And I'm joined as well by Rick Andrighetti, who will be teaching in the first year studio and is the admissions chair. Terry Boak, who is, among many things, she is the director of our undergraduate program, and Tina Davidson, who's the academic services coordinator. So the University of Waterloo, we respectfully acknowledge that we are situated on the Haldimand Tract, land granted to the Haudenosaunee of the Six Nations of the Grand River, in the Haldimand Treaty of 1784. The Haldimand Tract and surrounding area, including the School of Architecture on the Cambridge campus, is the traditional territory of the Arawandron, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee. Our active work towards reconciliation takes place across our campuses through research, learning, teaching, and community building, and is centralized within our Indigenous Initiatives Office. One of our main goals of this session is to answer any questions that you have that and hopefully there's many questions that you may have leading up to the start of your studies, and we're going to help you walk through so you feel really prepared for September. We'll do our best to answer both the kind of written responses in the chat, but also in the live Q&A portion of the event. This event is being recorded, so please do keep that in mind, and will be shared via email later in the week. Please turn off your microphones unless you're speaking to avoid any sort of feedback. And live captions are available if you'd like to have them to follow along. You can click on the three dots from the menu bar, select language and speech, and then click on turn on live captions. And you can also type in your questions via the chat box. This session is intended to be informative, educational, and a safe and inclusive space to have your questions asked and answered. And so three of us will be walking through the presentation with you today. And you'll work with all three of us through the coming weeks and the coming months of your first year term. And so through this presentation, we'll do an introduction to the school, an introduction to Waterloo Ready, talk about the transition from high school to university, what does it mean to be a Waterloo architecture student, key contacts for any question you may have, beyond tonight, who to actually reach out to, and then we'll have a Q&A period.
So this is the introduction to Waterloo Architecture, and welcome to Waterloo Architecture. We're really excited that you decided to come to our program. So this is going to walk you through a little bit about the program that we offer, the places in our school, and some of the people that you'll meet. So the program that you have been admitted to is called the Bachelor of Architectural Studies. It's a 4-year honors co-op pre-professional degree. In order to become a professional licensed architect, you also need to complete a Master of Architecture degree, which is a natural progression from our BAS to our MArch. Within the undergraduate degree, you have 20 months of co-op experience, and therefore this degree takes approximately 5 years to actually complete. One of the things about our co-op program is that it is an inclusive program, in that every Waterloo architecture student does co-op. We find that it's really beneficial as you move from term to term. It ups your game between terms, and there's an entire department at the University of Waterloo whose full-time job it is to find good jobs for our students. And so it's a really good added benefit of Waterloo architecture that none of the other architecture schools offer quite the same thing. So within the actual academic program, we're dividing our courses into 5 general study areas, obviously design being sort of the centerpiece of everything, which is the design studio. And we always say that we do design from day one. One of the first people you'll meet will be Rick and Fiona in the design studio course. As Fiona mentioned, she also teaches you a drawing course. So there's a visual and digital media stream. We have a cultural history and theory stream of courses, and these are extremely important in terms of literacy and generally understanding the positioning of architecture in the world. I teach in the technology and environment stream, so you'll have me in first and second term for building construction, and we have other structures courses following. And then the other aspect of the program is urbanism and landscape. And so we try to weave all of the streams through pretty well every term. So this is a look at what you can expect to be doing in first year. So first term in the fall, you have your design studio, visual communication, an introduction to cultural history, introduction to architecture, and my building construction course. Over the last 2 weeks of December is a holiday break. And then we go straight into your second term, 1B, again, a design studio, a second visual communication course, where the first course starts with hand drawing and sort of edges into digital communication. The second term is entirely digital communication. There's a cultural history course starting in the ancient world. You start on your environmental design courses, and then I do a second course in building construction. So that all takes you to the end of April. And between 1B and 2A, you have a very well-deserved off term, a little bit of a recovery and regrouping. But during that off term, Fiona is teaching you your PD Arch 1 course, which is a portfolio design course, in which you'll take all the work that you've created in first year and turn it into the portfolio that you'll need to have ready to roll when you arrive in 2A, because that would be the time when you start to investigate your first co-op. So the timing of the term, your fees are due and have to be arranged by the August the 20th. And if you don't do this by August the 20th, it causes a lot of problems with your registration. So you're well advised to get that done on time. Your orientation week is from September the 3rd to the 9th. The majority of that takes place in Cambridge, but you will also be finding out about main campus. But please, everyone, be aware that the School of Architecture is in Cambridge. It is quite a distance from main campus, and therefore our focus is on Cambridge, and you should also make sure that you are living in Cambridge. Every year we find some poor lost soul walking around main campus who accidentally decided to live in the wrong city. So please be sure you're living in Cambridge. First day of classes is Wednesday, September the 4th. I'll be teaching you on that day. Reading week is a formal break from October the 12th to 20th, which takes in Thanksgiving. I got to double check the 23 and 24 date. Last day of classes is Tuesday, December the 3rd. And the last day of exams and projects is Friday, December the 20th. One of the things that's very important, and we often have students whose parents are anxious to have them back for the holidays, that will book you the cheapest flight they could find before you're allowed to leave. So please, if any parents are on this call and students, please tell your parents that you must be in attendance until the last day of exams and projects. One of the big projects you'll have, in fact, the last one is mine, and it's pictured on the right. You make very full-scale wall sections, and this is in groups of 4. And trust me, it's not something that you can all take to someone's house to do at home. We have lots of floor space in the school to land those out. Winter term classes start Monday, January the 6th. Again, if you're living distant and the flights are cheaper on the 9th, 10th, and 11th, you must be back by Monday, January the 6th. We start in full stream, and being tardy for the term is not accepted as an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
During orientation, these are some of you might want to follow our Instagram, our orientation Instagram. These are some of the posts they did from last year. They always do a really nice series of posts with all the orientation leaders featured, and they're really keen to welcome you to the school. So they have interesting activities arranged for you for that week.
Okay. So hi everyone. Yeah, I'm really happy to see so many of you here. This is over half the class here today or this evening, and I'll just continue on with my portion of this presentation. Once you're in the building, some of you, and I expect many of you have already been to the school, and so you have one of our open houses, or maybe for your admission interview. You have kind of some sense of what we have available in the school. We have a series of a set of different spaces for different types of activity that happen within the program. The main space being the design studio, and that's the plan, that sort of strange looking colored plan on the left. That was a plan that was kind of set up during COVID, when we were trying to figure out how we could keep physical distance between safe distance between each of the students, which was quite an adventure at the time, which hopefully we won't have to go back to. We have a large space known as the loft, which many of you have visited. It's a large skylit space. This is where we conduct all of our reviews, and certain classes happen there, other presentations. And we have a large lecture theater where you'll have some of your classes, and where we have our visiting lectures. We also have a fully equipped workshop, as well as a number of digital fabrication tools. Oh yeah, the stuff on the bottom there was an illustration of what we had done when we were under lockdown, or basically having to social distance. And if we ever have to go back to that, we have a well oiled system already kind of in place if at any moment there's a hiccup and we have to go online, which again, hopefully we won't have to. Okay, so yes, back to the workshops. We have a number of digital fabrication tools available, as well as conventional handworking tools. We have a digital lab that is primarily used for high-end rendering. Everybody, as you know, is required to have their own laptop. But to supplement that, we have a computer lab that can outperform what most of your laptops are able to do. We have a very generous library as well, which is a very comfortable place, a quiet place to study, as well as a place for a certain number of exchanges, group projects, and things like that. Discussions are often held in the library as well. So it's very versatile and very, very comfortable and well equipped space. Okay. Now, this is our main campus that I've been kind of speaking about. And again, most of you have been there. We have a second campus, which is in Rome, where you'd be spending your first term of fourth year in a building that we've been occupying for quite a number of years, and again is kind of fully equipped to serve students when they're in Rome. And also to just sort of spend a moment to say that we're also very much an international school. Our students find work on their co-op terms in cities around the world. And so even though there is this kind of sense that we're kind of a small town, you're going to school in a small town, actually it's very much a kind of a global experience, so of which you'll spend in your undergrad term 7 of your terms. Okay, and the next slide is yes. Okay, so once you're in school, you'll be kind of encouraged to join or participate anyway in a number of the students' groups you can benefit from, whether or not you actually decide to kind of volunteer. It's a very important part of the school. We're a very tight community, and we're very self-sufficient. So as well as these various groups, and you'll find out much more about each one specifically when you come to the school. For those of you who were at the U at Waterloo Day, there was already some introduction to some of the student leaders who made presentations on some of the groups that are here. And some of them are set up specifically to help you, like the mentorship for architectural peers is there specifically to kind of help you as kind of first year students navigate your way through those at times confusing first few months and throughout your time kind of as an architect. There's always somebody you can talk to if you need a little bit of additional support. We have a very large faculty. We have over 20 full-time faculty at the school, as well as a great number of sessional part-time faculty who come in and teach. In your first year studio, you'll have we'll have a few of those, and so the school is always remains very, very fresh because we have so many different people to and so many different voices to pass on various lessons and ideas. Okay, Fiona.
So we know that this transition from high school to university is a big step. And you may be feeling a lot of different emotions and kind of freaking out about the whole thing. But we want you to know that we're here, that we're here to support you kind of every step of the way. There's many of us, both on the teaching team, on the administrative side, on the sort of university scale as well. And that's why the Waterloo Ready program was created, to help you to get ready to become and feel comfortable being a Waterloo architecture student. So Waterloo Ready is an initiative to help guide you through every step over the next few months into your first year. There's 3 main initiatives through the Waterloo Ready program, and we've created an experience that will take you through each of them so you'll know what you need to know when you need to know it. So there's 3 main initiatives to this. There's a series of emails that you've been receiving since the start of June. So 1 per week. If you haven't been receiving them, please do reach out. They are really important for you to kind of get a sense of what's going on. There's this live virtual session, and there's a Learn module that will become available to you in mid-July. And we've all seen this Learn module. It is amazing and will really help you to feel very comfortable going into first year, to understand how to read a syllabus, to understand like how the assignment works, to get a sense of even like what a first year project may look like in Design Studio. And so please do take the time to go through the Learn module. It is pretty exceptional. And then throughout the summer, we're going to continue to send you emails with tips to make sure you feel really, really prepared for what is like a big transition. So we've created a Waterloo Ready course that's designed to guide you through our support resources and highlight skills that'll make sure you feel ready to begin these studies. Each module is designed to lead you through the skills you'll need for a successful first year. From tips like time management to note-taking to additional resources available that will help to support you and your learning to ensure that you're kind of ready for architecture school, but also ready to kind of be on campus, to, you know, take care of yourself, to like be on your own for the first time. And we know most of you, you're ready to kind of wrap up high school. You're ready to like enjoy the summer, as you should. And it won't take up too much of your time, but we do really encourage you to kind of check your emails frequently, to check out all the modules, just so you feel really prepared to jump into the next step.
So continuing from there, the introduction to architecture school is a very, very intense, very exciting, very fun, but also somewhat stressful transition. One of the great things is that you'll meet a group of people who you will have a lot in common with. So unlike some of the people in your high school, you're now going to be with a group that's a lot more like you. And so there's an awful lot that happens very early on in terms of bonding with this group. And there will be a minimum of 70, but a maximum of kind of 80 students in the class. As such, you'll get to know each other very well. It's not like high school where you may be switching courses and be in some classes with some students and some classes with other students. You know, there is no homeroom. Your homeroom is the design studio as such. That's where you'll be spending a lot of your time. As it says there, you'll become a very big family in a short time. Making friends is rather kind of important as a support group. If you're living with other students, then often they become your main support. But there's a lot to worry about or to work towards in terms of getting to school. There's really no one particular approach for kind of every student. You're all very different, and that's something that we really treasure and respect is your difference. There will be two types of projects when you're in school. So some of them will be independent. You'll be working on your own, and that's something you're probably somewhat familiar with from high school. That most of your work kind of is independent. But even though it is independent, you're really kind of part of a culture. You're part of a community, and you're all learning together. So it's very, very important that you attend and listen in on other students' reviews so that you can understand their feedback and how it might relate to you. So we're all kind of growing together, and it's amazing organic process that once you get into the school, you'll begin to kind of understand just how powerful that community is. Okay, and then there is also group work. Which again you're probably also familiar with from high school. It isn't the kind of dominant way in which projects are assigned, but there certainly are a number of them. It's important that you get along with your partners and that everybody sort of share equally in the work. Depending on the course, some courses will actually have a self-evaluation where people have to declare how much of the project they actually contributed to, so that nobody can kind of hide behind the work of others. Um, 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 that it's easy to coordinate the time that you're working together because you're all on basically kind of on the same schedule. And if there at any particular point you can't for some reason make one of the meetings and contribute your part to the group project, you should be letting people know. And also to really kind of say right now is that the one thing that you really need to be prepared for is that you'll be working many weekends, and particularly if it's a group project, you'll want to be there. And so the idea of going home every weekend is not really going to be viable. That you'll be kept pretty busy within the school. So we do have the reading week. There is that I believe falls on the Thanksgiving weekend, or it typically does. And that's a time to go home and have a bit of a breather, and then basically it's a dash towards the holiday break. And anyway, you will find that unlike high school, homework becomes very much part of your daily life. What we try to keep to is a minimum of 3 or the same number of class hours as homework hours, so that if a typical course has 3 hours in class, then typically there would be 3 hours set aside for your whatever assignments would be given in that particular course. Studio, however, is very open-ended, and there really isn't a kind of a sense. It's very difficult to kind of limit yourself in terms of how many hours you put into it. And you'll find that too, because you'll be super excited about what you're doing, and you'll be very demanding of yourself, and it will consume an awful lot of your time. And it's very important to be reasonable about that, and at a certain moment to decide that your project is kind of good enough that you don't have to stay up all night, you don't have to knock yourself out. And it's just a question of working through each project in a step-by-step way, which we will definitely help you with the whole experience of learning how to budget your time, to manage your time well, is something that is one of the big lessons you actually kind of learn in your first term in school, is just literally just learning how to work in an architecture school, learning how to be an architecture student. It's very important that you avoid all-nighters. It becomes a phenomenon, a cultural phenomenon in first year, where everybody wants to do their first all-nighter. There's no magic to it. It can be a bit torturous. It's much better, and we'll talk more about this in the fall. But really, all-nighters are highly discouraged. Yeah, and most of your best work is going to be done when you're actually rested, and the biggest mistakes that you'll make will be mistakes in the middle of the night when you're exhausted. So you should be able to really enjoy the time that you're in school and not have to kind of knock yourself out. But it does really mean that you have to adjust now to a different lifestyle than the one that you're used to at home. You'll be cooking for yourself. You'll be doing your own laundry. You'll be, setting up your own living arrangements. And that in itself is also kind of part of learning how to be an architecture student, is transitioning to those things and learning how to take care of yourself on a daily basis, given all the stresses that we have in architecture school. So again, not to scare you, because really, if this works well, it's a very, very enjoyable experience, and you'll find it extremely gratifying. Okay.
I'll take the next one. I'll talk a little bit more about your transition to university and the role of you as a student. I mean, that seems kind of self-evident. I'm going to school. I'm supposed to be learning stuff. But one of the things about being in university is that the class sizes are a little bit larger. We've got about 75 target in your class. And so if you are having some difficulties, you need to speak up. You need to reach out if you need some help. And that could be help from the faculty that's teaching the course. You can ask your teaching assistants. You can go and see Tina in the front office, or the person at the front desk, Stephanie, who will like, hey, where is this? Where is that? I mean, we don't have a huge building, but sometimes there's just these questions that you just aren't quite sure. And so there are people to ask. It's really important that you are proactive and don't just sit there and don't ask questions, because there's no bad questions except one that's not asked. There's always going to be somebody else in your class that goes, oh, I'm so glad they asked that question because I was thinking the same thing. So please sort of be proactive and ask questions and engage with the teaching team and the TAs, particularly the studio TAs, because they've all been through this pretty recently, and they know what they can kind of guess what you're going to ask. What are the professors supposed to do? I mean, we all teach at Waterloo Architecture because we love it, and we are privileged to be teaching students of your caliber. We try to be respectful to everyone. It's a very inclusive place. We have quite a bit of diversity in the student body, diversity in the faculty, and it's just we want it to be a welcoming and effective place. So feel free to reach out us at any time, whether we're in class, after class, email, Teams. We're all very active and receptive to answering questions. The teaching assistants are also selected so they can be helpful to you. So get to know your TAs. They will have office hours, and as I say, they can help you with your coursework, and they can also answer other sort of basic life, Cambridge kind of questions. There'll be a change in pace. Rick already talked about this sort of change in pace, where if you think you're going home every weekend and just doing nothing on the weekend, if you think that you can have a 20-hour-a-week part-time job, particularly if it's somewhere else, most of the students that go through our school don't generally engage in part-time work because they keep very busy at school. The co-op program is designed to help you make good money on your between terms so that you can be better able to support yourself during your school term. That's not to say that you're not permitted to work, but it's advised to spend most of your time focusing on school, because most of the other students will be doing that. And it just tends to make it more equitable when everyone's working the same way, except for first year, which is 4 months back to back with your holiday break in the middle. Pretty well all the other terms are alternating between a school term and a 4-month co-op term. One of the things that we do at the school, which is kind of exceptional in the university in general, and that has to do with the fact that you are a cohort and you take all the same classes as each other. Tina and myself will sit down with Rick and Fiona and Robert-Jan van Pelt, who teaches your other 2 courses in first year, and we coordinate deadlines. So we look at the workload, we look at the timing of things, and we make sure that you don't end up with sort of 3 tests on one day or 3 projects on one day. We try to spread them out. Because we do that, we don't allow the random moving of deadlines, because your class might go, oh, well, we could really use more time for this. We want more time for this. So, hey, Fiona, can you push that one off a week? Well, you push Fiona's off a week and you don't understand what's next. You're going to start to domino affect Robert Jan's deadlines, my deadlines, and some of Fiona's other deadlines in her other course. And so it's one of those things, we don't move things unless there's a really agreed upon reason to move things. And we've scheduled, this particular team is scheduled first year together for how many years, Fiona? 5, 6? So
It's 2019. Yeah.
Okay, so we're trying to get it perfected. Grading. So grades are they're a fact. You have them in high school, you'll have them in university. We try to post grades in a timely fashion, but the class size is pretty large, and so sometimes there's a bit of a lag. But we do our best to get them out. If we're lagging greatly behind, have your class reps, which you'll be electing like right at the beginning of the term, convey to the professor in case in the course that, hey, are those grades coming out soon? Because we know that you need that feedback sort of as confirmation of how you're doing. The studio projects are all team graded. So Rick and Fiona and their team will get together and assess projects all at once. This is important because what you're dealing with in open-ended design projects is something that is potentially subjective. And we want to make sure that everything is looked at all together by all of the faculty so that you're not getting graded in isolation. Mm-hmm. All of the courses will have a clear grading scheme. If not a rubric, then something in terms of a list format so that you can understand what you're doing. Now, to clarify, and I'm not sure what grading profile you're coming out of high school, but a passing grade in a university course is 50. The passing grade in design studio is 60. But the passing grade for your entire term is 70. So although a course could dip below 70, the expectation is that the average that you get at the end of 1A is 70 or better in order to proceed to the next term. And that's a cumulative throughout your program. So 1A and 1B add together for the end of 1B. At the end of 2A, we're looking at 1A, 1B, and 2A. That effectively starts to average out potentially if you might have a dip. There might be a term that things just don't align with the stars quite as well with you and you don't do as well, but that starts to buffer things. So do understand that that's what the grades are. And if you start to receive grades that are much lower than that, then please go and speak to people. I find generally most people in first year do pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be prepared to be challenged. I think it's already been sort of suggested to all of you that it is a pretty challenging program, but in the best possible way. I mean, you are all sort of like the cream of the crop. We challenge you because we respect the skills that you're bringing into the program. And we want to make sure that we can do justice to those skills and help to really push you to kind of become the best designers and architects and kind of citizens that you can be. And that requires that you also are prepared to take some risks with your work. We're always here to kind of act as your safety nets. You know, as you kind of push outside of where you're comfortable, we're there to kind of protect you from ever really like not making your landing. We're here to kind of make sure that you feel safe and you feel supported, but also feel comfortable taking those risks in your work. You should also become quite open and flexible with your working methods. You know, through the first year curriculum, you're going to be exposed in studio to many different ways of working and many different ways of designing. Like Tara mentioned, design is a little bit subjective, right? It's open-ended. And with the project, we expect that we'll see 75 different responses to the exact same brief. And so you should become flexible with how you work because there's no one solution, and you'll work with every member of the studio team through our term together, and you'll learn how we work too. And so as a kind of combination of like learning from your peers, learning from us, learning about yourself, it'll be good to start to become flexible and open to different ways of learning and working. And that said, you'll want to learn to also take advice. So much of studio and so much of being an architecture student really relies on this sort of feedback loop that we kind of start to create between us, the faculty team, but also between you, your peers, the upper year students. We also create dialogues around your work, always with the best of intentions, always to help you to kind of create the best projects and to help create a really robust skill set. And so learn to take the advice, which is always going to be constructive criticism and feedback, as really helping you to push your work to become as good as it can possibly be. You should keep on track with all your courses. It may seem easier said than done, but we will also help you with this. Like Terry mentioned, we coordinate all of the deadlines and all of the coursework across your first year courses. And within the courses themselves, you'll see that projects are often broken down so you can understand week by week what the expectations are. And that will help you to keep on track. You should be prepared to work comfortably and effectively at home and at school. With studio in particular, the expectation is that you're working in the studio because it becomes a really wonderful place where you can talk to your peers, you can socialize with your peers, you can ask feedback from upper year students who've been through what you will be going through, will have done similar projects, and they can give you really wonderful advice. It requires that you also treat the studio and treat the school both as a social space and a part of the community, but also as a workplace. And so you should learn to keep both your home and your workplace, or the school in general, well organized, clean, and a space of kind of productive activity. You should also aim to take care of yourself. And this is really important. Rick mentioned, we don't advocate or support sort of the all-nighter, the kind of culture that you sometimes hear about in architecture school. We work really hard to prevent that from happening. We want you to take good care of yourself, because we care about you as people, but also you can't do good work when you're exhausted and hungry. It's just not the environment that we want to foster. We hope that you will take care of yourself and take care of your colleagues within the school. Learn to cook before you come to school. This is actually really important and will help you succeed, not just as like an adult, but also in your schoolwork. We have facilities within the school. You can microwave your food. There's a sink there, but it would be really useful for you to be able to pack your lunches and then take care of yourself. The healthier that you eat, the more energy you'll have to kind of work and just to kind of feel good. And make sure you have enough to eat and also enough hours of sleep. Again, we don't support these cultures of overwork, of staying up all night. It's really important to us that you take care of yourself.
So this is what we do in order to coordinate the entire school. I always say to my colleagues that the School of Architecture in Cambridge is sort of like living on a boat or on a ship. We have a finite amount of rooms, we have a finite amount of space, and we have multiple cohorts in at any time. So this is the fall term schedule, at least the one we had last fall, but it's very similar to the one that we're finalizing for this term. So your column is circled in the red box. And so that's your Monday. You'll have studio in the morning, lunch, studio in the afternoon with Rick and Fiona. And you can see that second year and third year and master's students are also in studio all day. So that is a day when the whole school is in studio mode. On Tuesdays, you get the morning off. You can sleep in a bit if you like. In the afternoon, you've got Robert Jan van Pelt for cultural history. And then you can see by the colored boxes that there's all sorts of other courses that are going on that day. So that's a day that's lecture course heavy for all the classes. Wednesday is another lecture day for you. So you've got my building construction class in the morning and Robert Jan van Pelt's Introduction to Architecture in the afternoon with a lunch break. Thursday is another studio day, full day. And then when we have guest lectures, those are normally scheduled on Thursday evenings. So it's at the end of the week, at the end of the studio week, guest lectures. Now, when we do have guest lectures, those are invited people from outside specifically to speak to the students. So it's expected that you will stay and sit in the lecture hall and listen to the guests that we bring in. Friday, you've got your drawing class with Fiona. So there's some in-class exercises in the morning, and there's tutorials that sort of run for the rest of the day. So that's sort of how we set up the schedule. And so if you're concerned about what room places are in, this is always posted outside the main office door from term to term. So again, these are your key contacts. I'm the Associate Director undergrad, so I'm teaching you in 1A and 1B. but I'm also one of the go-to people if, all hell breaks loose and we have some major problems to solve. Maya Shabilsky is the O'Donovan director of the school, and so she's sort of in charge of all of the administration, etc. And then Rick Andrighetti, who you've met through admissions, he's the chair of admissions, and so these are sort of the more admin roles. And then your other key contacts, Tina, the yellow square at the top left, you can see her on the screen, is your academic services coordinator. So she would be, if you can't resolve a question or a problem with the professors that teach the course, those would be the people you would go to first if you have a course-related question. If it can't be resolved with them, or if it's a private issue, an illness issue, anything like that, then you can approach Tina. She'll help you, direct you to the right place. If things can't be solved by Tina, then it gets bumped up the chain to myself. Stephanie is our new administrative assistant. I don't have her photograph yet, but it'll be in the next presentation. But when you walk into the front office, there will be Stephanie. And she would be the person to discuss with rooms and any sort of building related issues. Carly was handling all of the admissions up until this point, so she's kind of handed you over to Tina. So Carly does admissions, and Tina is your academic services coordinator throughout your undergrad. And Andre is our administrative officer, and again, she does advising from time to time, but generally she's dealing more with higher level facility related issues. Before we bump into question period, I also wanted to make note that if you have any issues where there would be accessibility issues, so if you have learning ability accommodations that have been going on through high school, mental health issues that you've had, mental health support, anything that you have had accommodations for within your high school program, assume that you need to maintain your contacts and accessibility as you come into the University of Waterloo. Some students go from high school and they say, oh, high school was just such a mess. I didn't like high school. All those courses I didn't like to take. I'm in university now. I'm good. I can do this on my own. I don't recommend that. So that if you have been accommodated in high school, please reach out to the accessibility office. If you don't know how to get to those, you can email Tina at the school, and Tina can provide you that so that you get yourself set up before you start in September. You're better off to get set up with accessibility before you arrive and find that you don't need to call on it very often, again, because we do try to spread our deadlines out, but it's always good to have it set up in case you really need it. So I believe you have no mic access the way that this has been set up. So if you want to type your questions in the chat, and then we will look at the chat and we will respond to your questions.
And we already have a question. I have feedback.
Okay, when we are in Rome for our 4A term, are we expected to arrange our own living accommodations? Yes, you are. Generally speaking, as we go through the entire program, you're working on your own for accommodations because there's no residence anywhere. So in Rome, there are housing links and there's facilities, much like we're giving you here to find facilities in places in Cambridge. The same thing goes for places in Rome. Students tend to live probably a bit more densely in Rome, more people to apartments. It's only 4 months, and that's generally what happens there. Have the dates for the Montreal field trip been solidified?
Eva, they have not. It's typically one, I hear a lot of feedback. It's typically one of the last 2 weekends of September. Last year we did the second last weekend of September. It'll either be that or the last week of September.
Any other questions? Equipment, computers. When will our student email accounts be set up so we can register for places for students? Tina, do you have that one?
I'm not 100% sure, but that will be something that's coming out in those emails that you are getting every week. About the same time you get access to the Learn courses when your email is set up.
There is a Discord server already, though, for housing.
And Facebook too, I think.
Mm-hmm. I'm the one who is the gatekeeper on the architecture student Facebook page. So a lot of the accommodations get swapped on the Facebook page. So if you look for Waterloo architecture students, I've probably let a bunch of you in already. So just make sure that you answer the questions that say you're an architecture student, and I will let you in. We try not to have a whole bunch of like random people from the world on our Facebook page. That's why we ask you.
So the next question is, should I buy the Amazon supply list now?
Hi, Presley. I do recommend it. For all of you on the call, you do need to have the full supply kit by the first day of studio. Otherwise, you will fall behind on your projects. And so I would take a look at the list. You don't have to buy it through Amazon. You can kind of shop around if you like. And so I would start doing that now, so you have everything in hand for when you come to Cambridge.
What kind of computer is recommended? Should I take this question?
Sure.
So that information is coming. We do not recommend this particular kind of computer, but our computer experts are going to recommend a set of specs that you would need to effectively run the software that you're required to have. And that's coming in one of those weekly emails.
Yeah, so we were talking with Norris actually just this week about MacBooks and the chip, and he's double checking that the Intel chip he knows will work with all your software. The M chip is new. And a lot of the software suppliers for things like Rhino, et cetera, are not saying that they support it. So he's trying to do a bit of investigation. So I'd hold back on the MacBook Pro with an M for the time being. Where is the supply list, Tina?
It's in progress, and it's going to come out shortly in the weekly email.
Somebody found it, obviously. They asked the question if they should buy it.
Yeah, I think there's an old supply list on the web somewhere.
Okay, it's pretty well the same.
Yeah, I mean there is
Rick, you just muted yourself.
Oh, I was still muted. I thought I was free. I am free now. There is an informal market that happens between upper year students and first year students. You may be able to purchase some of your equipment, used equipment from upper year students who are no longer feel it's needed. Most students will stick with digital drawing once they become versatile with it. But some students really love to draw by hand and continue to draw by hand all through their time as a student. So they won't want to give up their equipment, but there are certainly a number of students who may wish to sell it. So you could save money on that, but it's an informal economy, and I'm not sure exactly how that happens. But if you look around, whether it's on Facebook or whatever other platform you're using, I don't know whether Fiona, you have any more insight into where that trade happens?
Most of the swapping and selling of things takes place on the Facebook page. They tried to migrate to something else, but it came back to Facebook. Right. So you'll see upper year students. You can also post on that group once you're in and say like, hey, any upper year students selling equipment, DM me and you might get a response from them. But as Fiona said, you do need it for the first day of classes. So don't arrive and then figure you can randomly pick things up. It won't work. It won't work well for you.
And they're not students, and they're trying to coordinate that better too. So yeah. That's
awesome. Thanks, Tina. I mean, I will second the recommendation to try and buy from upper year students. The 2A class, they will also be there in the fall, and most of them will have some elements of the kit that they will be wanting to or willing to part with. Some will definitely keep on drawing by hand, but there will be, I think, a large number of students who'd be willing to sell their kits or parts of them.
Yeah, and so whatever way that some things you'll need, some things they will need.
It's true. Like you'll probably need to buy like an Olfa knife that will probably stay with the students, but there's other things like a drawing board, which they may be willing to part with. And so if you can get in touch with them through whatever, there is a Facebook group or whatever new platform may be set up, I definitely recommend that.
Mm-hmm. And thanks for clarifying, Presley, that the list is online. I appreciate that. So we have a question about the ratio of written exams to project final assignments.
Mostly projects.
Mhm. Yeah, even in the academic courses.
A lot of them are sort of more short answer, um, short essays when you're in the lower years. We don't really get into long essays until later on. I'm just looking up the Facebook page link for people.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's the Facebook page. You won't be formally invited to it. You log in there and ask to join. Is parking permit necessary to park in the school lot? No. That's one of the really cool things about the School of Architecture is that the parking is free. Just don't stay there
So
overnight and
far.
leave your car there forever, or people will start to threaten to tow you. But
Mhm.
Okay, what does Frosh Week look like? Is there a detailed schedule? I can handle this one. It's not Frosh Week.
we're
It's
not allowed to
really,
call it that anymore.
yeah. It's also not a week. So really there's going to be one very intensive orientation day right after Labor Day weekend. So I guess the Tuesday before we start classes. And you will be getting a very detailed schedule, and that will be happening on the Cambridge campus.
Although there are orientation activities that start on the weekend with not the academic orientation day, but there are other, it's about 3 days total with some kind of fun activities that start before the school one. So we need to get that from the orientation team, which is, they're all students, and so they're still self-organizing.
Mhm.
I just posted another link to the UWSA Marketplace. And so that one has a lot of books for sale. You'll see some apartments kind of pop up there, old materials and parts of old kits as well.
So where do we find the Waterloo Ready modules, and who will be sending the weekly emails? The Waterloo Ready modules are coming as part of your weekly emails. And the weekly emails, for most students, they are sent from main campus. But because some of that information is not relevant to architecture students, occasionally we are intervening and pulling one of those weekly emails and replacing it with one of our own. And those are put together by Carly and I.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, you shouldn't worry that by the time you're coming to school, you make it to school, you'll be well informed on all of these things. It's just, yeah, they just roll out one at a time. But all of these things will be answered.
We
All
just
your
try not to
questions will be
overwhelm you with a
answered.
whole bunch of information all at once.
Yeah, right, right.
Are there unit tests and quizzes similar to those in high school with each course?
Not really. Um, I would say, I mean, I teach a building construction course, and what I require in my course, and actually Robert Yon is very similar in his courses, his two courses you get in first year, is you buy a sketchbook and you take notes in the sketchbook. And at the end of the class, you take photograph of those notes and they get submitted on the Learn, which is the sort of online interface where we host your courses. And then each week I have you do a sketch. So
Mhm.
Robert Yon has similar note. You have to come and take notes by hand. May sound a bit archaic, but we've had actually really great results from students actually taking notes by hand. You learn more. You're more selective with what you write down, and you maintain a good attentive stance. Um,
Mhm.
so that's my course, and then there's that big wall section that's at the end of the first term. And Robert Yon has some short papers and an essay, as well as his sketchbook exercises. So that would be 1A. In 1B, when you get into cultural history, they start to have short quizzes that make sure that you read all the books that you've been assigned to read. Um, and I'm not sure we have somebody new teaching your environmental studies course in the winter term. I'm not quite sure what ARFA has in mind for that one, but generally speaking, our courses don't go heavy on exams until you get into our structures courses. So coming in second and third year when you're doing structural design courses that are very math heavy, um,
Mhm.
those ones very definitely have a clear tests, midterm, final kind of structure to them. You had to
Mhm.
take all those grade 12 math courses and physics for something. So you will have to, you will have to draw from that, starting in 2A. But the first year you can relax your math brains a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any more questions, and did I miss any of the questions in the chat? If you have a question that you didn't ask or it didn't get answered, you can also email it.
Any recommended readings for the summer?
Ooh.
I don't know if we can have Robert Jan maybe come up with a couple of books from the list to read in advance. The book that he has been using in the fall term is by Kenneth Frampton, and it's called Modern Architecture, Critical History.
Yeah, if you could read that
if you
book,
want to get a good leg
ahead.
up on your work,
yeah,
knock that one off, because that
Just
way when
focus
you're
on
reading
that.
it, you will be in the fall term, you're going to be reviewing it as opposed to reading it fresh.
Yeah, and it'll give you a really good foundation for all of your architectural thinking, really. Yeah, so it'll be very useful for studio as well, and also technology, because the Frampton touches on all of these things.
Who is the author for that?
Kenneth Frampton.
Kenneth Frampton, that's right. Okay.
And so what Carly and Tina are in the process of doing is putting together a web page that will have links to all of the stuff. So all of the content of all the emails that's going to be sent out all summer, the link to the page to buy Amazon wish list page, the link to the computer materials, that'll go on that. Textbooks, you need them for the fall. Mm-hmm. So you need to arrive with them. You can go, I've already put in my book list, so you can go to the the W store, I believe it's called, at the University of Waterloo, and the book lists get published there. So as soon as Robert Jan and I have our lists up, you can order the books.
Mm-hmm. And they can be delivered to the school, if I'm not mistaken.
They can.
Yeah.
So
you can either
they'll be there when you arrive in September.
I mean, if you live close by, you might want to, bring them with you. But if you're flying in from Vancouver, you really don't want to have one suitcase full of books when you're trying to bring all the other stuff for the term. Webpage will be made. They're working on it. I would imagine in the next couple of weeks it should be done. What access to free transit do we have? Only free in Cambridge. It's the whole Kitchener-Waterloo. So it's the Grand River Transit. It goes all the way to main campus. So your free bus can take you to main campus if you want to go there. Yes, no Toronto, no Guelph, just Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge.
The different syllabus, there's a question here about the syllabi. They'll only be available on the first day of class.
Mm-hmm.
And they're typically available online on the first day of class.
Right.
So generally, most of the professor use the interface for the university called Learn, and some of your Waterloo Ready Learn bits are in Learn on one case. So as soon as classes start, then you get rolled into the Learn groups for all of your courses, but you can't access that before the first day of classes because professors are busy populating it with stuff. So we can't have you in there ahead of it being finalized. But as soon as the first day of classes rolls in, then you'll have access to all of your courses on Learn, at least whatever content is posted there.
Mm-hmm. A minute or two over time, but we could go on. If people have a few more questions, we could stay on for a few more minutes.
And if any of you are in the neighborhood, if you're always welcome middle of the week, if you wanted to come back and just have a look at the place again, you can get yourself let in and say you're an incoming first year student, and just sometimes it's like buying a house. You walk through it once. It's 15 minutes, the biggest purchase of your life, and then you can't go back in. But you're welcome to come to the school. It's your school now.
Yeah. You should be aware that we have both a security system, which is say every student's student card will allow you to open the doors. of the school, and there is a security guard who's mostly stationed right at the front entrance. And so, if you're coming in, you won't have your student card yet. You can ask our very generous and courteous security guard to let you in. So, and that's fine. They'll have no problem doing that.
The school building doesn't exactly close overnight, but we don't like you to stay there. So there's nobody that's going to come and roust you and kick you out the door. But the idea is that you shouldn't be there. When do we receive cleared tuition fees for this upcoming fall semester? Or do we just use what is posted? You should be getting a tuition statement, Tina, right? You're muted, Tina.
Muted.
Sorry, they will not let you forget to pay your tuition. You will get many emails reminding you to pay it and pay it on time.
Yeah, so you don't just pick some random number off the website and send it to the university. They'll send you some correspondence for tuition. I'm pretty sure it'll be noticeable. Any other facilities or discounts we can get with our student cards outside the faculty building? There are student discounts at the Melville Cafe if you make sure you show your lanyard. Fiden Pens, which is in downtown Cambridge, gives discounts to our students. I'm not sure where else in Cambridge, to be honest.
In Cambridge, I'm not sure, but what you can do is you can check the Waterloo University Student Association webpage, WUSA. They're the ones that coordinate all of your discounts and freebies, and so you're going to want to probably find that page and bookmark it.
How do health services work? Are there any connections to the university?
So yes, we have some pretty thorough health services available. There are absolutely tons of services on main campus, and you'll be getting links to those. But as well, there are more local facilities you can use, and we do have a local counselor who comes in person once a week, but is also available online and caters to architecture students.
Yeah, I know that's a question. Sorry, just to say for kind of 1 second. I know that's a concern for some of your parents is that questions of healthcare. And we've been doing, we've been stationed in Cambridge now for 20 years, and we've never really had any significant problems finding the proper care for any student who needs it.
Generally, if you have a problem during the day, you would go to the front office and somebody would either call you a cab or accompany you to some place that you need to go, or but there's usually a list of healthcare practitioners that will take patients or walk-ins in Cambridge. When do they get their student cards? That's probably not until they arrive. You're going to get them, I would suspect, during orientation. You'll get your student cards.
You have to have your photo taken.
Yeah, you'll get instructions how to order them online, and then they'll ship them to the school, and you'll pick them up the first day.
Yes, free bus fare. So students at the University of Waterloo get free bus fare as part of your tuition perk in the whole regional Waterloo area.
We also have a free cab service. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, if you do get housing that's a bus ride away from the school in Cambridge, then that bus is a free bus. You don't have to pay for that bus.
Yeah, and we also have a free taxi service if you're up late at night and need to get home and you're a little nervous about going home after dark. We do have a taxi service that'll take you door to door, just to your home. It won't take you to a bar or a restaurant, but it'll take you home.
Yes, the free bus fare would take you to main campus. So the question was of transportation to the main campus. So there's a bus called the I-Express, and it leaves from the Ainsley terminal, and it takes you to main campus. It takes an hour and 20 minutes to get to main campus via bus, but it's an express bus. You imagine how long it would take if it wasn't an express bus. And the taxi service is provided by the provost of the university, and so it is also free. We don't encourage students to be use it frivolously. You can,
Mhm.
a bunch of you are all going to the same house, get in the same taxi. But yes, it's paid for by the university, and it only is after dark. So not in the
Mhm.
middle of the day. You go home for lunch, there's no taxi if you go home for lunch.
It also won't take you to Toronto for free.
No. Or to main
Mhm.
campus for free. If you're going to main campus, you're taking the bus.
Mhm. Good. I hope you're all excited about coming. Gonna be it's gonna be a life changer for sure. And for the better. I think a lot of you are, as I think Terry said at the beginning, are really anxious to get have high school behind you and move on to bigger and better things. So you should really look forward to a lot of positive experiences this fall, despite all of these questions and all of the things that are of concern. You'll find that everything will run smoothly. We pretty much have everything covered, and every condition that comes up, we have some way to help you or serve you.
And I think
like
you'll
make
find.
sure.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Fiona.
sorry. It's like make sure you do all of the Waterloo ready kind of material, the emails, the modules. Read the Frampton book if you have a chance to. Look at pictures of architecture,
Mhm.
but also make sure to enjoy your summer. I think it's a big step to kind of move on to architecture school and to university, and I hope that you all come to us in the fall like rested and just like ready to dive in. And so as you're getting ready to come to school, make sure you also really enjoy these last few months at home too with your friends and everything else before you move on.
Mhm.
And one thing that it may seem pretty confusing now, but I think once students arrive, it's a pretty set up week of classes that you're doing all with your cohort, and you're moving kind of in sync. And so you'll find that you kind of settle into the flow pretty easily.
Mhm.
You're not moving between buildings, it's all in one building. You can't really get lost much. If you do, there's lots of people to help you, but it's pretty straightforward. It's actually a lot simpler than going to a large city campus where you're moving from building to building, around a city. So
You're gonna
Mhm.
feel like incredibly supported. Like it's gonna feel like a very kind of huge like data dump right now with so many emails and dates and fees and this and that coming at you. Just know that if you arrive at school, and hopefully this isn't the case, but if you do arrive at school and have no idea what's going on, there's so many people, whether faculty, the staff, your peers, the upper years, there'll be so many people to support you and to help you. And so hopefully then none of this seems overwhelming to you, although it is like, there's so much. We're all
Mhm.
going to be here for the next few months to help smooth this transition out.
Mhm.
And we're looking forward to meeting all of you too.
mhm.
Yeah,
It'll be fun.
completely.
First year is super fun. And I think that you'll all really enjoy the experience. Through studio, through all your courses, through Montreal. Like there's going to be a lot of really great kind of
Yeah.
memory building activities for all of us, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll learn more and grow more in the first 8 months of school than you will have up until this point, and likely more in that 8 months than you will anytime in the future. It's a really magic time.
Are we good?
Great. Yeah.
Well, everyone should have a nice evening, and thank you all for coming. It was great to have such a wonderful turnout.
Hmm. Yeah. Really very good.
Thank you, everyone. Looking forward to meeting you all.
Okay. Oh, great. Wonderful. Bye, everyone.